Hello everyone, welcome to today's session, Delivering Exam Success for Online Schools and Students. While people are joining, I'm just going to introduce our hosts, Rob Jamieson, who is our Head of International Partnerships, and Christina Altoft, our Head of Assessment Services. But before we pass over to Rob and Christina, I just want to run through some basic housekeeping rules for those of you that have joined us here at Pearson for our webinars. This won't be new to you. Just a note to say that you've all been automatically muted with your cameras off to minimise background. So please keep your microphone and webcam disabled. But you can communicate with us via the chat box for any assistance or questions throughout the presentations, and there will be some time at the end of the session for Q&A. In fact, we really welcome you to chat with us throughout the webinar. Please let us know where you're calling in from, what inspires you to join us today, and please do leave questions. And if we can't answer them throughout, we will definitely try and answer at the end, and if we do run out of time, we will follow up any unanswered questions. So it's a great place to put Q&A. And we are going to run a couple of polls throughout the session, and we once again appreciate your participation in that. The session is being recorded, and you'll be able to view that afterwards. We will share that by email. It will also be put on the event page where you registered on our website. And once again, we welcome you to share that with colleagues. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over. We've got a really packed session, exciting packed session. So I'm going to hand over to Rob. And I think there'll be a poll coming up just to kick us off at the start. So my colleague will be setting that off. Enjoy the session and look forward to chatting to you.
Thanks very much, Nick, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us from around the world. So we're starting off today's session about online and hybrid schooling by asking you what your current context is. Whether you're an online school delivering international courses and qualifications, a physical school, or already a hybrid school. And of course, that's only the current situation. You may be physical, but being interested in hybrid. So let's look at the situation that each of you are currently in. Give you another few seconds. All right, do we want to look at the results of the poll, see who we've got with us today? And yeah, quite interestingly, and not perhaps too surprisingly, 2/3 of the participants are teaching already in or running online international schools. So this is the core, obviously, for today's event, today's webinar. Interestingly, already 17% of respondents involved in hybrid delivery of courses. So that is equally relevant for the content that we're going to be talking through today. So let's move on to the core components of our sessions today. We're going to be looking at the context, first of all, for online schooling and the opportunity in this part of the schooling segment. So online schooling has been developing at an enormous rate in the last 5 years. As you'll see from this slide, then it's gone up from 1.2 million to 2 million students in the last 5 years. The bulk of those, in fact, 90% of the total number of students learning online in the world are actually in the US, where online schooling provision has been a core part of the education system for around 20 years. And it's supported by state funding, and is actually a pathway for some 300,000 K-12 students, whilst actually over 4 million students in the US also have a component of hybrid online schooling in their curriculum. So that there's an enormous amount of learning going on online already in the US, and the rest of the world is catching up. As you can see from the slide again, the numbers have doubled in online schooling in the last 5 years. And there's a projection in the Virtual Schools Market 2023 report that revenues for online schooling will go up by over 130% over the next 5 years. So it's going to double again, more than double again. What's driving this online learning movement? A range of factors. Quality K-12 education and an increase in interest in English medium education is a worldwide phenomenon. And of course, is driven not only by the fact that people can't necessarily access an English language international education in a school close to where they are, but increasingly people around the world, parents are choosing online schooling as the best solution for their children. Global mobility and the desire to be able to work in English is a strong motivation for many parents. Of course, the pandemic was a big factor in driving online, but it also reduced the barriers and the fear factor about it. People saw that it was effective, they saw that it worked, and the schools and the delivery and the offer is becoming more and more diverse and more sophisticated, and therefore gaining more and more confidence as people discover more about it. And of course, as that segment grows, physical schools are also innovating and adapting, just not only to compete with each other, but as we'll see in a moment, also to offer interesting, exciting new forms of course delivery. So let's look a little bit about into the history of online schooling and our involvement with it. As I said, it started in the US, and we've been involved actually since the turn of the millennium through our US online school, Connections Academy, which has delivered high school diplomas to hundreds of thousands of students right across the US, and in more recent years also international US curriculum delivery around the globe. That we've been working on, developing and making more and more sophisticated through our Pearson Connexus learning platform over those years. And so we've now got a really resilient platform that in around 2019-20, we adapted into a UK online school in partnership with Harrow School in the UK. And we've now developed that same Connexus platform and content with a range of our international GCSE and international A-level qualifications, which we make available to physical and online schools as a shared platform. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a moment. So that's the offer that we have. There are 6 components to the proposition for online schools that we're going to talk to you about today. And these are not all developed specifically for online schools, but each of them offer an advantage for online and hybrid schooling. So I'm going to talk to you briefly about 1 or 2 of these, and then hand over to Christina for what in a way is the jewel of the crown of online schooling, and she'll reveal a little bit more about that in a moment. So first of all, let's look at not just online schooling, but also the opportunity for hybrid delivery, and why the content that I'm going to talk to you about today is as appropriate for physical schools to solve existing problems and create new opportunities as it is central to the delivery of content for online schools. So imagine some of these situations, which, in my experience, regularly occur in physical schools. Online provision can help a physical school in all of these contexts and more. Contexts where a school finds it hard to find a high quality teacher in a subject, someone who's able to teach locally, to be able to come into school and deliver the courses for you, and has all the qualifications and quality that you look for in your recruitment. Online can help with that solution. Can also help you offer more courses, subjects that you either couldn't offer a teacher enough hours for, or that you simply don't have the scope or perhaps even the space to include within your regular program in the school. Consider offering it as an online course within the school. Or if you have a teacher that you're sad to see leave, well, maybe you don't have to see them leave. You can actually they can stay with you and continue to deliver content online. So all of these are ways in which hybrid delivery can help solve some of the traditional problems that schools experience. But then also, hybrid delivery can create new ideas, new opportunities for a more flexible way of working and thinking literally outside the box, outside the walls of the school. So, for instance, if you work in a group of schools and you have a star maths teacher working within one of the schools, why only limit the benefits of the experience of that teacher to the students within that school? Think about offering them the opportunity to deliver some or all of the students learning content to other schools in the group by involving them in online delivery across the group. Or also, if you'd like to reach more students but aren't currently able to because of constraints of space, think about offering online courses for students in a specific subject or across the board, and either becoming a virtual school yourself or offering a subject or subject provision, subject revision, subject tutoring as part of your offer. And then this is a really imaginative one. Many of us work remotely, work online, part or all of our working lives now. It's not unrealistic to think that a school could start working that way as well, have an online day where the teachers, the students can stay at home. That will make some savings for everyone. And as long as you can manage it into your program, it's an interesting idea for a school to consider exploring with the opportunity of hybrid delivery. So that's some context and some ideas for ways in which it could apply. Let's look now at the content. So the first component of the offer that we're talking about today is modularity in our UK international exams. And as many of you will know, we have offered modular international A-levels as our core proposition for our international A-level qualifications for over a decade. And people like the modularity because it allows students and teachers to prepare students module by module, section by section, and to take the exam as they're ready. And that, combined with the flexibility of having 3 exam series a year, means that you can assemble the qualification, normally 2 or 3 units at IAS and another 2 or 3 units at IAL. For an online school, this is attractive because there's often sort of rolling enrollment, or students that may be partway through a course when they join you. The flexibility of being able to enter students for modules 3 times a year for international A-levels is obviously of benefit. And now, as of this year, we're also offering modularity as an option for the majority or a very large number of our international GCSEs. So splitting those exams into the 2 independent papers and building the qualification across more than one exam series. And there we have 2 exam series a year, in May, June, and in November. And of course, if a student is building up their qualification with you, then it's also it helps build loyalty. It helps build stickiness. The student will stay with you if they're building the qualification with you, series by series. So that's an example of the way in which modularity can be of benefit to hybrid or online schooling. A really core one is this next point, that we're moving, once again, this is for physical and for online schools, to a program of delivering the very large number of our international GCSEs and an increasing number of our international A levels on screen. And as you can see, last year we had 1,200 entries. This year we've had 5 times as many entries, live exams. It's happening this summer in 8 GCSE, international GCSE, and international A-level subjects. So this is a reality, and the numbers are growing very fast. And once again, ask us more about it. We can give you a lot more detail about this. It responds to the situation that students, and I think this is more the case of students in online schools than anywhere else, that they are very comfortable with devices. More importantly still, for online school students, they're really comfortable with keyboards, because one doesn't necessarily equate to the other. But keyboarding skills are higher, of a higher standard in online school students than they are with your average student who is already very digitally competent. And it was interesting, the feedback that we've had from students at online schools. If you show these quotes, you see, look at these quotes here on the right, that it actually, they felt it increases the quality of their responses because of the way that you create content when you're typing compared to when you're handwriting. When you handwrite, you have to fully formulate a thought in your mind and then commit it to paper. When we write on a keyboard, we edit ourselves in real time. We shift sentences around, we can shift paragraphs, we can make sure that if our conclusion to an essay no longer matches the introduction, then we can go back and amend the introduction. So we can improve the quality of our response right through every aspect of the creation of the text. And that's really valuable for students in using in working on screen for their exams. This is supported by the ability to prepare your exams through on-screen mocks, and we wouldn't have anyone going into an on-screen live exam without having done the mock experience. But another advantage of using the mock service is it gives external validation marked by Pearson examiners of your mock. So it's also a good test and check for your own curriculum delivery and for your own content teaching, as it is for practice for the students for the live exam. Okay, we're going to move on to, in a way, what I think is the most exciting part and perhaps the most dynamic part of our offer for online schools now, which is remote invigilation. And for this, I'm going to hand over to our expert, my colleague Christina, who is running an extensive pilot this year and can talk you through what we are doing for remote invigilation.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everyone. It is really lovely to be here today and talk you through a little bit about what we're up to within my team. So as Rob mentioned, my name is Christina Altoff. I'm Head of Assessment Services at Pearson. And what that really means is I work within our GQ assessment division. We're the division that delivers sort of your millions of exams every single year. And my team work with schools, parents, students across the globe to understand challenges, understand how we can work directly with you to solve some of the biggest challenges that you have when delivering exams. So we aim to remove barriers, we aim to utilise the expertise we have within Pearson, within the assessment division, to make your lives a little bit easier. We're really passionate about innovation. We're really passionate about thinking outside the box. And that thinking has led us to working much more closely with online schools and hybrid schools across the world to really get under the skin of where your biggest challenges are. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But as Rob has mentioned, we're talking about remote invigilation. And I thought I'd start this off by just giving you a bit of an explanation on what we mean by remote invigilation. And essentially, it is a little bit like Ronseal, as in it does what we say on the tin. And the process is we aim to invigilate students remotely who are sitting their high-stake exams. We monitor them through 3 different feeds. They are monitored by invigilators. We utilize audio, video, and screen sharing technology to ensure the integrity of our qualifications and mitigate against things like cheating, malpractice, etc. Rob's touched upon on-screen assessment quite a bit, and I have to say that utilizing on-screen assessment alongside remote invigilation technology has really enabled this service to be brought to life. So I thought we might start by just giving you a bit of insight on what it actually looks like in practice. So this technology has enabled international students across the globe sitting their international GCSEs to take their exams from home. I've touched upon the fact that we monitor using 3 different feeds, and on the screen just now, you can see those feeds in real time. So we have a laptop camera. So just like you can see me now, that's one of our views that we have of a candidate. We have the screen sharing functionality, so we can see everything the student is doing on screen in real time. And then we utilize QR codes and some technology to link a mobile device with a camera. The students then set that up at an acceptable angle, as you can see just on the right there, and we monitor them from that angle in real time as well. We invigilate these exams utilizing Pearson recruited invigilators on a ratio of 1 to 2. And what we mean by Pearson recruited invigilators is that we hand select this invigilator pool. They go through stringent checks to ensure we exceed all safeguarding requirements and that these invigilators have experience with students. And from the pool, we know we have assessment associates. So some of our examiners are also invigilators, and also some of our tutors. So they're a really experienced, brilliant bunch of people that are passionate about making sure these students have the best virtual exam experience they possibly can. Now, none of this would have been possible without the pilot that we launched last year. So I've touched upon the fact that we're really curious. We're curious, we work with centres, we like to understand the problems that you're navigating. And this curiosity and the knowledge that online schools are growing and the problems that you guys are trying to solve is continuing to grow as well. We really want to make it as easy as possible to work with us and to provide the best possible experience for your students across all the elements that Rob has touched upon, and then moving forward into the pilot that I'll talk about just now. So last year we had a meeting with King's Inter High. They're a large online school. They have students across the globe. It was a fascinating meeting where we dove into how they manage their exam administration at the moment. And that was really eye-opening for me because I realized just what a huge task this is for you guys in finding exam centres, making sure they're suitable for your students, managing the entries and managing everything else that goes along with it. Not to mention the cohorts and the specific needs of your cohorts, and also the reasons that some of these students have chosen to be educated at home, meaning that sometimes they might not be confident enough to go into an exam hall. And that lack of confidence could be the biggest barrier for them in achieving the next steps in their educational journey, their international GCSE grades, as an example. So King's agreed to work with us last summer, and we ran a pilot with 150 students, and I'll go into the detail on that in just a moment. But what this pilot really offered us, in partnership with King's, was us being able to pull together a digital-first assessment solution, making sure that more students and parents that have chosen to be educated outside of the mainstream bricks and mortar route have alternative and accessible ways to take exams. So it really enabled us to offer choice for the first time in this way. And as I've touched upon, utilising the technology that we are working through with on-screen assessment, coupled with our remote invigilation technology, has provided this secure, flexible solution that online schools can now tap into. So what did the pilot look like in principle? Well, I mentioned we had 150 candidates. We actually delivered over 1,500 exam sessions last year across 16 qualifications. Every single candidate completed their exams. The invigilators did an incredible job and had really, really positive feedback on students' navigations throughout that pilot phase. Now, I've touched upon the fact that it was a partnership with King's, but I wanted to pull out some of the feedback. So you guys will know more than me the sort of cohort and the students that you work with. And through the pilot last year and through what we're moving forward with this year, we're getting to know these students really well too. And we understand that they may have additional access arrangements, they may have a variety of neurodiverse conditions that mean that they need additional support during their exam. They may have anxiety or physical health complications that just mean the very thought of stepping foot into a physical exam centre is just that step too far. So this innovation, this curiosity has led us to the point where we can serve those students in a way that may suit them a little bit better. So the quote from Ashley on screen, I won't read the whole thing, but what I did want to extract was this sentence just at the bottom. This pilot has not only shown the transformative impact of technology, it has also shown how through innovation, we can change the future outcomes and life chances for those students for whom mainstream education does not work. Now, I will talk about the students that we work with until the end of time because we feel incredibly passionately about their success. I've touched upon the fact that this service is about enabling student choice. And I think one of the most powerful things to come from it is the student stories themselves. So we've just extracted a couple of quotes from students and parents for you to read today. So the first one was a brilliant student who has a condition that means she was unable to complete the exam in its entirety without a significant rest break in between. So we worked with our regulations team and our special considerations team to find a way that would enable her to move through. And where this landed was the candidate would sit part of her exam, then she would have an extended rest break, which would allow her to have a sleep or go have a lie down and just have a complete breather and a switch off from the exam. Once she was rested, she came back, sat down at her computer and completed the remainder of her exam. And this candidate did incredibly well and we're very, very proud of her. And then obviously you'll know the parents of students that are educated through an online school are so, so important. It really is a partnership between an online school and the parents. And we view ourselves as an extension of that partnership. And we work very closely with the parents, understanding their students, supporting them wherever we possibly can. And I thought it was really important we had some parent voice here to share with you as well. So this is the parent of the student I've just walked you through. The parent fed back that she was over the moon, essentially, that her daughter was able to sit her exams, get the grades that she truly deserves. And she fed back to us that she couldn't see a way through. If this service wasn't there, she doesn't think that her child would have been able to sit her exams last summer. And just continuing on the student stories to tell. So we've touched upon students that are potentially neurodiverse or have physical conditions that mean they can't get to an exam centre. We also had students that are located in incredibly remote parts of the world. And so access to an exam centre is incredibly challenging for them. The one story that I lean on quite hard is we have an incredible student that was based in Canada, but her nearest exam centre was over 3,000 miles away. And so the chance of her getting there, it would have meant an uproot for the entire family for a period of 6 weeks at great cost to them, at great stress to the student, but also incredibly disruptive just for the whole family. So in using this service, that student was able to sit her exams at home, and we were able to minimize any disruption to the family. The other student stories that we have are our brilliant student on the left here, who is an elite athlete, and he would have had to have made a very, very challenging decision around a choice. He could either take part in a career-defining race, or he could sit his high-stakes international GCSE exams. And so what we did with that family was we worked very closely again with his guardian, and the candidate that you can see on screen was actually able to take his exams the evening of the career-defining race in the trailer at the side of a racetrack. So again, we worked with his entire family to make sure that the location was secure, that it was minimally disruptive, and that he had everything he needed to be successful during those exams. And he did. He went on to do both of those brilliant things. And then to the left, we have our fabulous student, Amelia. Amelia has a number of conditions, and again, just personalized working with her family. It might be possibly one of the requests that I haven't had before in terms of access arrangements and working with families to find an environment that works for their student. But Amelia requested a trampoline in the room of her exam. So they had set up an exam room in a really nice, secure, uninterrupted space. And Amelia had asked that she have a trampoline in the corner of that room in full visibility of the invigilator, which meant that when Amelia's rest breaks were enabled, she was able to step back from the computer, go to the trampoline, have a bounce, get rid of some of that energy, and then calmly come back to the computer and continue with her exam. And when we think about that in reality, there's no way we would be able to ever serve those requests in a physical school. There would have been some very challenging decisions for families to make, and potentially some students that wouldn't have been able to sit their exams at all. So from our perspective, predominantly, we are an exam board. Certainly in my division, what we do is we write exam papers, we mark exam papers, and we grade exam papers. Very rarely do we get the opportunity to see our students go through those papers in real time. And what this service enabled us to do was we could get our critical teams, so those that write the papers, those that mark the papers, they were able to watch the students go through these papers in real time and understand how they interact with the tools that are baked within our on-screen assessment platform, understand how they use the highlighting functionality, how they utilize the notepad that's on screen, all of these different things that we've worked incredibly hard to build into the system, but we hadn't up until that point actually seen students interact with them in real time. So it was incredibly insightful, and we were able to use that learning to bake into the future development of the platform and just make improvements that are based on student stories, student experience. I've touched upon the power of on-screen assessment coupled with remote invigilation, and it's probably one that I'll continue to talk about for a very long time. But the reality is, with this service, we have a number of papers that are completely on screen, and then we have a number of papers that are not ready to be fully on screen yet, some of our more challenging ones like maths and science, where we have approached the content in a hybrid way. So we will have the content secure and locked down on screen, but students will be given an answer booklet to respond to the questions in. Now that's fantastic, but what we know is that on-screen assessment, as that roadmap moves forward, that provides an exceptional experience for students and invigilators alike. Now, from our student stories, you know that we're passionate about working with students in unique situations, with unique circumstances, and we want to give them every single opportunity to succeed and have the choice on where is best for them to sit their exams. And we believe that this service offers us the opportunity to support students with SEND in a truly tangible way. And I think this is just the start for us. So we're working predominantly with online schools right now. So last year we worked with 1 school, this year we're working with 4 schools, and a considerable increase in our candidates that we have the absolute privilege of supporting. But we would love to expand further. So we are exploring opportunities to work with alternative provisions, home educators, and hospital schools, to name but a few. And I guess a question from me, if you wouldn't mind populating in the chat, just in the along the lines of curiosity, what else could we be doing together to shape a more flexible and accessible future for students?
Thanks very much, Christina. It's really exciting. It's particularly the individual student stories that I think really fire a lot of our energy into the developments that we're making for online hybrid schooling, because in the end, it's all about improving outcomes. So Christina's really talked about there the end of the process, when you get like a smooth end-to-end teaching, learning and assessment program, all able to be delivered online. I'm going to step back now and talk a little bit about how you get there, and a platform that we offer with content called Pearson Online School Services. And what POS does is it combines the Pearson platform that I mentioned before, connects us, which we've developed over more than 20 years, which is incredibly sophisticated and resilient online learning platform, with adapted content that we have created for bespoke online delivery of our UK and US curricula. So we create that content, and then you can provide the teachers, or you can find the online teachers, or use your online teachers to deliver that content, and we provide training to maximize the ability of the teachers to deliver the content on Connexus. Connexus is sophisticated, and it covers a range of functionalities. So what does Pearson Connexus do? It provides the opportunity for two-way communications between students and tutors. This is actually explained in detail on the next slide here. So, as well as the communications that go two ways, then it also includes markbook functionality, which allows you to trace student progress, track student progress right through the course. Obviously, task assignments to a group or individual students. There's a component of the content that can be auto-marked, but then it also obviously allows for human marking. And essentially, it provides individualized assessment and analytical data, which allows you to provide individualized support according to student needs. So the sort of the triad of content and platform is based on the curriculum content on the one hand, the teacher that evaluates, delivers the content, but also going beyond academics, we have a framework to provide coaching and learner support. As you see, online schooling is very different than just being a school online. And to maximize the ability of the technology to accompany students, we actually have a balance of 70% asynchronous content, 30% synchronous. Briefly, these are the qualifications that are currently available through Pearson Online School Services for UK curricula, international GCSE and international A-levels, and for the US program delivered through our International Connections Academy. This is the US content on this next slide. And just move forward there, and then we'll see a huge range covering the US curriculum as well. In terms of support for your teachers delivering the content, whether or not actually you choose to use Pearson Online School Services, a new range of products called Teaching Hubs offer really fantastic both professional development and practical planning and in-class content for delivery online. There are lesson plans, there's curriculum guidance, there are thousands of on-screen resources allocatable activities, animations, downloadable worksheets, exam practice texts, and so on and so on, which makes the teaching hub for each of the subjects that they're available in really great resources to support an online teacher. And of course, for an online school, giving each of your teachers access to the teaching hub becomes a guarantee of quality of delivery across your teaching cohort. So really valuable. And then the last piece in the puzzle is our courseware. Obviously, we have supporting course books, which all our course books for our international GCSE and international A levels come as a print plus ebook pack. Or for pure online delivery, we also have ebook editions that are available for individual parent purchase via our platform partners. So we've gone through there at a rate of knots all of these 6 core components of our online schooling or hybrid schooling proposition. And together, I think that they make a really strong mix of elements to deliver really strong, successful exam courses. But as Christina said earlier, the benchmark by which we judge ourselves is the outcomes for students. And I believe that the way in which we've developed this combination of components for our online schooling proposition is fundamentally helpful in increasing equity, accessibility, and equality of opportunity for students learning hybrid and online as they have been learning in physical schools up until now. So thanks very much for your time and your attention today. And if in the last couple of minutes there are any questions that we can answer, obviously any others we will deal with subsequently. Also, we will share with you links to be able to continue the conversations with us, to visit our online page, to ask for further information via your local representative, or by sending in a form to us for further contact. So thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Christina. That was a fantastic session. Just one outstanding question, which I was going to answer from Holly, to say thank you, a really interesting session. And as an online school, they're very interested in the broader provision. And we're asking about BTEC's availability in terms of online assessment at the moment. Not that I'm aware of, Holly, but if you stay in touch with us, we'll be sure to let you know if that does change going forward.
And I have had 1 or 2 conversations with schools and have put them in touch with our division who looks after BTECs. So I know that they're engaging with online schools in terms of developing online delivery for their qualifications too. So that's a practical conversation that can be taken forward.
Brilliant. And Harry has a fantastic question. I know Christina will be able to answer this, and that is, what happens in the case of interrupted internet connection during on-screen exams? This is something we've struggled with during internal online mock exams. So yeah, a very, very common question, Harry. You're not alone in that. Christina, could you answer that for Harry, please?
Absolutely. Harry, this is something that we have, it won't surprise you, that we've gone back and forth on. We work with students across the globe, including really remote places. And unfortunately, as much as internet connectivity has increased and it's definitely getting better, it is also still a challenge for us. And so how we mitigate this is, on the whole, the internet connection tends to be very stable. It does drop in and out, and occasionally some of our feeds will disappear for a short period of time before we get them back. But what our students also have is a third device recording in the back of, sort of just set up behind them in the room. And this can be anything from, we've got GoPro cameras that students are using, to iPads, anything like that. And essentially, this is just our safety net, that if a student does lose connectivity and all of our visibility of the student drops out. The idea for the candidate and what we feed back to the candidate is that they continue the exam as normal. And at the point where we can get connection back with them, we will request that recording. We'll feed it into any of our reviews. So we quality assure every single session. We'll feed it into any reviews. And that way we can guarantee that exam conditions were maintained during the delivery of that exam. And there's no risk to the candidate.
Brilliant. Thanks, Christina. Great questions. Thank you, everyone. We are at time. I've put a couple of links into the chat, our online schools website page, which also has a link to our form to sign up for further updates as we progress and continue to evolve our offer to you, and also a link directly to that form. So please do keep in touch, and we will send a recording of this session with all those links back round to you by email in the coming days. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much.